All right, and welcome everybody. Jeff Thomas with Invest here with you for another episode of Whiteboard Wednesdays. We had a brief respite there with vacations and whatnot, but happy to be back with you. And our question from the crowd this week is relative to college planning. The question is, Jeff, I have a 5 and 7-year-old starting to think about college planning. I've been looking into 529 plans. Can you give me your perspective on the pros and cons of 529 plans? Fantastic question. You know, we're in the summer months. People are getting ready to go back to school, get ready for college. So this is very timely for those that want to have some perspective on 529 plans. And I'll just say this, a 529 is a great tax advantage way to save for college. Is it the right fit for you? Well, it depends on what your goals and needs are and what the future holds for your children. Are they going to go to college? That seems to be a big topic of today. Skilled trades, advent of AI, what's the future hold? But at the end of the day, let's just get into the pros and cons of 529s and why they're a great tax advantage vehicle. So let's just do 529s. Pros and cons. And I will tell you, there is a lot more pros than there are cons. So let's just dig into the pros. First of which, the most important, tax-free growth. All those contributions that you made in the market, you're going to get tax-free growth over the many years. So obviously the earlier you start planning for college is the better. So you have time and compounding on your side. The next great pro is the fact that you have a potential state income tax credit. Now here in the state of Indiana, where I reside, we have state income tax. Well, if you contribute to a 529 plan, they give you a 20% credit against your state income tax. So let's just say you contribute $7,500 to the plan in that given year. The state of Indiana will give you a 20% credit. Now, I would implore you in any state that you're in, research if you have state income tax, they may give you a benefit relative to a state income tax credit. Next is high contributions limits. And these range, again, given state by state, could be anywhere from $300K to $600K. Fantastic way to think about if I'm going into a qualified plan. I'm usually capped on things like Roth IRAs, 401Ks, IRAs, etc. But if for the need for college, max benefits as far as the contributions that you can have over time. You can have flexible beneficiaries. What I mean by that, most households have multiple kids, right? So say your oldest child gets a scholarship, or maybe they go the military route. Your second kid, you can change the beneficiary and roll those contributions to them. So that's a fantastic benefit if you're planning for college as a household with multiple children, okay? And you have broad investment choices. Now, most of these will have target date funds. If you have an employer-based plan like a 401k, you're probably familiar with these. They level the risk the closer you get to your child becoming college age. So they may be more aggressive on the front end, and then as they get ready to start to use those funds, they're going to tilt more conservative. But these are broad investment choices. And some 529 plans only have a myriad of a few choices, right? So if you think about target date funds or broad index funds or stable value, you're not going to be able to individually stock pick in 529 plans. They want to be broad-based, right? So you got a myriad of different things that you can choose over there. This also can be an effective estate planning vehicle. And most people overlook that as far as the estate planning side, you know, from the benefits that you can have where you can front load, you know, up to 5 years. Now, some states have different rules around that, but a front loading allows you to contribute up to 5 years up front. If you're a single parent or an individual, it's usually around between $90,000 to $95,000. If you're married, filed jointly household, it could be up to $190,000 per child. So front loading is a great potential opportunity if you have that capability to have time and compounding over the years to come. And also you can make those gifted contributions be removed from your taxable estate. So a lot of people overlook this. It's a great estate planning vehicle as well. Now, everybody always says, you know, what can I use these funds for? Well, in the recent years, they have expanded the qualified expenses. I'll give you an example. So the pandemic hits. A lot of kids went home to college because it was now on an online platform as we were figuring things out in the year of 2020. They allowed you to take what it would effectively be room and board at that school of choice to allow the parents to withdraw those funds tax-free because it's not going to room and board, they're living at home. So these are constantly being expanded, but you want to make sure that it is a qualified expense that it's going to. Tuition, books, room and board specifically. Yes, but some things like transportation, other different things may not qualify for it. So as you take withdrawals and you're making a planned contributions, you make sure you want to know what is a qualified expense. And also something here recently, Roth rollover. Say you have funds that are left over. All the kids are out of school and you got funds that are left in these 529s. If the 529 has been open 15 years or longer, you can now start to roll those funds out into a Roth IRA for the benefit of that child. Now, once the child's working, you can only roll over the contribution limit, right? So we're talking about $7,500 a year. So that is a benefit that you can start to explore for their future benefit to have, again, tax-free growth, not unlike they had in the 529. So again, lots of pros around the 529. Very few cons, but let's just give a balanced approach and state what those cons are, right? You got penalties if they don't go to a qualified education expense. No different than an IRA. If I pull out money before the age of 59 and a half, that withdrawal is going to count as ordinary income, and then I'm going to have a 10% penalty. Same thing applies to the 529. So make sure before you take money out that it's going to that, again, qualified expense. Let's talk about the investment options again, because again, some consider these as limiting. If I can only do broad-based indexes or stable value funds, maybe I want to go the stock picking route. Well, you're not going to have that opportunity within a 529. So some consider this a drawback. I don't really consider it that. I'm more on the pro side because, again, you're saving for a future expense, right? You're saving for a future expense. Now, when it comes to making investment changes, all right, I'm going to shorthand investment there to invest. You see what I did there? You can only change the investments twice a year, on average in most 529 plans. And you can also change them when you change the beneficiary. So as I alluded to before, if you're going from one child to another and they are younger, well, you can look to change the investments and maybe tilt them more to the aggressive side or look at a different broad-based fund. Now, with any kind of investment, you're always going to have market risk, right? So you got a 16-year-old approaching 17, maybe you don't want to keep them aggressive because you may have the account value drop a little bit because depending on what the market's doing. So as you get closer to that age of 18, we're going to start using this. Most oftentimes you're going to tilt more conservative, but just like in any investment, the only guarantee I can give you is that the market will go down, all right? But at some times you need to judge that risk and do it appropriately as they reach the age of starting college, okay? Now, another con that I want to kind of highlight here is that, again, not every expense qualifies. Okay. Not every expense qualifies. I hate to belabor this point, but you need to make sure that all expenses that you're withdrawing from the fund go to a qualified education expense. And last con is financial aid impact. Say you started late and you need to fill out that FAFSA form. Well, a 529 and any investments are going to count towards that FAFSA, but let's just look at it in terms of what is the overall effect? Well, it's only going to impact parents by 5.6%, very specific there. 5.64% less of what they could have potentially get approved for student loans. Now here's the hack that a lot of people don't consider. If the 529 is in the grandparent's name for your child's benefit, the impact is zero. So sometimes that's a great hack to understand that, hey, if we started late, maybe I want to open up the 529 or have my grandparents do it, because that will have zero impact on the FAFSA if they need to go the student aid route as far as applying for student loans and financial aid. But let's just say here, pros definitely outweigh the cons in this respect. Now, is it always going to be the right fit? It depends on the goals and needs and wants that you want for your children. Some look to go to the taxable account route, so they have open architecture thinking they can get more growth over time. They're still going to have short and long-term gain capacity there, but what if they don't go to college? Well, that account can be used for anything. Anything, cars, you name it, future growth, bequeathing it to them later on down the road. you name it. At the end of the day, it comes down to what is the intended goal? What is the mindset? What are you trying to achieve? And again, this is a very tax-efficient way to get tax-efficient growth for the benefit of your children's college education. A little bit longer today. Hope you enjoy it. We're here on 4th of July week. I hope everyone has fun barbecues, celebrating the country. Jeff Thomas, representing Invest. I'll see you on the next one.